So let's say, so now obviously, like, well, what's going on here exactly? Right, so Reuben's claiming, he says, Shimon, the field you bought from Levi is Levi stole it from me and sold it to you. And now we look at the paperwork and we see that Reuben himself is one of the witnesses on the bill of sale from Levi to Shimon. So what's the halacha here? Admon Omer, almost says it's not a problem. You say to Reuben, so obviously we ask Reuben, I don't understand. If the field, if Levi stole the field from you, then why would you agree to sign the shtar mechira, right? Why would you agree to sell a bill of sale? Admon says it's a perfect answer for this. Hashini no achri, harisha kash. So let's listen to this. Because Reuben could say, listen, Levi is a gangster, right? Levi is a thief, right? Maybe he's a strong guy. I knew I never had any chance of getting my field back from Levi. And Shimon, I know you. You're a reasonable guy. So I figured if I could get the field away from Levi to you, Shimon, now I have a better chance of getting back my stolen field. That's why I agreed to sign on the bill of sale so I could get it out of Levi's hands into your hands. Incredible. It was another reality TV. I'm just saying, like, this is so great. This is incredible. Well, so now listen to this. The Chum say, no, come on, cut it out. Even as if so. Well, what are you talking about? Reuven, if you come forward with a claim that the field that Shimon currently has is stolen from you, that's fine. But when I say, once you're signed, once you're not a party, but once you're a witness for the transaction, you've lost any right to claim that this property belongs to you. Even as if so. So take a look at Rashi. Actually, even as result, the whole of the chasam, hodesh she'ino is it. What is that? Essentially, what that comes saying is like this: the act of signing on a document, or the act of witnessing a document of sale transaction, is effectively saying what this field has nothing to do with. You're giving up any rights to the field. So there was a fundamental matter like this. On the flip side, the asa similar akar. Sorry, on the flip side, asa similar akar. So I said, look at this case. Look at Rashi. Asa, המוחזק בסימן לאחר, שלא מכר לראובן זה האור עליו, אלא לאיש אחר, אלא מוכר סודה מצד זו, ומיצר לו 4 מצרי הסודה. וכסף לו במיצרים, מיצר פלוני סודה שלי, ועשה סודה זו שלי. So we'll say, now watch this case. So let's say for a moment that Reuven now owns the disputed field, right? I'm sorry, Shimon, right? So Shimon owns the disputed field. So now, what does Shimon do? Shimon sells another piece of property, right? So let's say now, let's call the disputed field field A, right? So same case, right? Shimon bought the field from Levi, right? Then there's Reuven. Reuven, of course, is claiming that Levi stole the field from him and now sold it to Reuven. But sold it to Shimon. I'm sorry. One more time, I'm going to get this right this time. Right? So we'll say, so again, remember, Levi sells a field to Shimon, right? In the back of all of this, we have Reuven claiming that Levi really sold that field to him. And now, all right, stole last time, right? Levi sells the field to Shimon. Good, beautiful. Reuven now is claiming that the field that Shimon bought from Levi was stolen from him by Levi. Okay, so that was case 1. And case 1 is where it turns out that Reuven himself is an aid on the bill of sale from Levi to Shimon. Okay, so now what do we do with that? So again, according to Admon, Chachamim say, that's it. You've lost any claim. You signed on the shtar. You've lost any claim. Admon says, no, there's still another claim. You can claim, it's easier for me to get the field back from Shimon than it was from Levi. Fine. Case 2 is Shimon is selling the field. So let's call disputed field is field A. Shimon is selling field B. Field B. It's fine, no problem. So we'll say, often the way when you would sell a field, if it was a field that was next to other fields, the way you would identify the field that you were selling is by identifying the other fields all around it, right? I'm selling you field B, that is bordered by fields A, D, So in this case, Shimon is selling field B. But in the document of sale, he makes reference, it says field B borders on my other field, field A. Field A. So in this case, field A is being used as a demarcation point, as a border. So right, field A, the dispute was not being sold at all. But it's being used to identify field B, which is the transaction. So now Ruvain is using field A, right? Sorry, Shannon, thank you. Ruvain is using field A as just to identify the border of the field that is being sold. Now, those say Ruvain is signing on this document also. Ruvain is signing on this document. So now, here's the shaila. Now, in this transaction, in this document, so when Shimon is selling field B, he's also what, so to speak, solidifying his ownership over field A, because he's using field A to identify one of the borders of field B. Ruvain is claiming that this field A, as originally is signing on this document. So now Bill says, now what's going to happen after this is over? So now Ruvain is going to want to come back and say to Shimon, by the way, field A is mine. It was stolen from me by Levi, who subsequently sold it to you. The Mishnah says no. Asa Simon La'achar Ibed Esafuso. At the end of the day, even Admon agrees, which is interesting. Even Admon agrees in this case, that once Ruvain signed on this type of shtar, which used the contested field as a border for the field being sold, everyone agrees that Ruvain has relinquished any further rights to claim that the field is his. Okay, interesting. Let's go. Rabbi. Okay, let's go back to that first case. Great. Let's go back to the first case. That's good. That's good. Let's say so. No, but the truth is, I realize that this we actually have to stay on target because the truth is, Rosh Chodesh is Tuesday, Wednesday, right? So the truth is, Tuesday and Wednesday's docket are a little bit, and Monday, a little bit long. So we gotta stay, and we only have 45 minutes on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, but we're gonna be fine. So let's say, so here we go. We'll say so. All right, bye. So we'll say now we're focusing on case number one. So once again, let's just get back to case number one. Right? Shimon purchases a field from Levi. There's a document, right? On the document it says that Levi sold the field to Shimon. One of the witnesses is Reuben. Reuben then comes after the sale is complete, and Reuben comes to Shimon and says, Shimon, the field is mine. Levi stole it from me. What? You signed on the document. So again, Chachamim say, sorry, Reuben, you no longer have any claim because halachah Ma'isa, you signed on the document. Sorry, you were a witness. We're done. Almon says no. Reuben has a claim. Yes, I signed the document in order to get it out of Levi's hands to your hands, Shimon, because I thought I'd have a better chance with you of getting back my land. Fine. So now Bai says, Lo Shano Ella 8. That's only true. Right? All of this is only true. If halachah myself, Reuben signed, or the machlokas, there's only if Reuben signed as a witness. About Dayon Lo Ibeit Esses. This is fascinating. So let's say if this is really incredible. So if halachah l'maisa, Reuben served as a dayan, as a judge, everyone agrees that he can still make the claim of fact, even though he was the judge over the document. What is that? Why do you need a judge in this case? Look at Rashi about dayan. Sure. Überstar mit Hilfe des Lekaimo, Mishpat Kiyam Stars, Sha'idim Ba'in Umikra Ksab Yadam, Ba'dayanim Kos Mishtara Dinan Nafka Lekadmana, Basidu Sa'ad Yachasino Saraya Bashim Lekadmana. So I say, watch this. Let's say again, they come to Beis Din to certify document. Kiyam Stars. We've spoken about certification of documentation. Once again, what is Kiyam Stars? The danger of documents. I'm wondering in halacha, documents when you have a signed shtar. So that's incredible. The problem is somebody go ahead and forge. Right? So you forge your star, sure. So there's a concept of star certification. We call it kiyum shtaris. What's the concept of kiyum shtar? Yes. You bring your star to Basin, like the Basin takes a look at it. The Basin brings in testimony or brings in the witnesses, certify that is that is their signature. We write a little pen click, right? We write a little either on the document itself or an attached document, and done. The star is certified. So this is incredible. So a bias is just like this. The machlokes Almon and the Chachamim in the first case of the Mishnah is only Reuben signed as a witness on the transaction. But if he was a dayan on the basis that certified the document, that does not alert his ability to later on claim that the piyam is stolen from him. Why, Rabbi Rothschild? This is actually fascinating. We're talking about the piyam, ein ha'ibn chosmi al ashtar ela in kin karor. Aval, on the base, Aval hadayon chosmi afaku shalom karor. This is absolutely incredible. When you witness a transaction, like when you sign as an aide, listen, what are you signing on? What are you signing on? You're signing on the validity of the transaction. Like that's what you're signing on. That I witness this transaction. This transaction is binding, valid, and legal. When you're a dayan for kiyum shtaris, they will say, what are you certifying? What are you certifying? Signatures. You are not certifying the transaction. In fact, the dayan, sometimes by kiyum shtaris, the dayanim aren't even reading what's in the documents. Like because I'm not certifying the transaction. I'm like, you're not the transaction. Kiyum shtaris is there just simply to certify the signatures on the document itself. But it has nothing to do with it. It's so fascinating. So fascinating. So you could have a situation of kiyum shtaris, which makes sense what I said, because otherwise, kiyum shtaris requires a whole certification of the transaction. And that's the point of the shtar. And what does the shtar do? The shtar, right? The agent on the shtar locks in the transaction. Kiyum shtar certifies the signature. So this is incredible. So we'll say in a case where Reuben was a dayan for kiyum shtar. So now let's play this out, right? So Levi sells a field to Shimon, and then they draw a document, and now they want to bring the document to Beis Din for certification. Reuben is one of the dayanim on the Beis Din to certify. Right, Reuben's Beis Din certifies the document, and then after it's certified, Reuben says to Shimon, by the way, the field is stolen from you. Everyone agrees in that case, Reuben has a valid claim. When we say Reuben has a valid claim, obviously saying something is stolen from you is not a claim. Right? I mean, it's a claim. What it means is Reuben now has the right to what? Pursue that claim. Right? So again, why? And everyone agrees in that case. Why? Because Reuben's acting as a valid for kiyum shtaris has nothing to do with the transaction. All Reuben was doing was just saying, oh yeah, the signatures say with the speed, you guys recognize the signatures? Fantastic. We go, sign it up, right? And then we're done. So everyone agrees in that case that in no way erodes his claim to go ahead and pursue the stolen claim. The claim for that was stolen from him. Now, Sha'in came when he's a witness to the actual transaction, sale from Levi to Shimon. In that case, again, part of signing on a shtar is what? You are claiming the transaction itself is valid. When you say claim the transaction is valid, you can't go ahead and not claim that same parcel is stolen from you. Almon says, yes, I can. The transaction was valid. In other words, yes, Levi sold to Shimon. But at the end of the day, it's my land. Good. So says the Gemara. But I saw a similar aspect. Especially the next case in the Mishnah was, I remember again. Right? So same case, but let's say, not that same case. In this case, Shimon the purchaser, Shimon the purchase contest the property, call it parcel A. Shimon is selling parcel B and uses parcel A to identify the borders of parcel B. Reuben himself signs on that shtar as well, and that as well. But Reuben sells on that shtar. The Mishnah says everyone agrees that after he sells on that shtar, he no longer has the right to pursue any claims that the land is stolen. The parcel is stolen. Lo shana ala la'achar. That's only true ultimately again. Rashi says, Lo shana la'achar. Dafka nafas masnisin simin la'achar. Aval asah ha'muchsak ba. Similarly, atzmo shaluben za'ora la'asvosana. Listen to this. That's only true when what? When when Shimon is selling the parcel to someone else. What happens if Shimon is selling the parcel to Ruvain himself? Shimon is selling parcel B to Ruvain. And now it happens to be in that sale, Shimon uses parcel A, which is the contested property, as a border identification. But ultimately, in that case, even though Ruvain, right, was even as Sefuso, Ruvain did not go ahead and lose out on his ability to reclaim parcel A. Why? The Amar, even though Avzile, because he would say, if I would not agree to this, they'll have a Mazbin Lemikiri. And ultimately, again, Shimon would not sell me the property. In other words, I will say, the concern over here is that if Shimon knows that Reuben is going to be claiming parcel A, he's going to be reticent to what? Sell him parcel B. So Reuben wants to buy parcel B. If I lodge my complaint now, then I'm not going to get parcel B. And certainly, again, leaving aside parcel A. So the Gemara says, "My is the So what could Reuben have done? If I lay the Memar Moda, so maybe what Reuben could have done is what before he purchases parcel B from Shimon. I decided this is a witness from this one. So I'll tell you guys, I'm purchasing parcel B from Shimon. In a transaction, Shimon is saying that parcel B, right, borders on Shimon's other parcel A. Guys, I just want to tell you, Reuben is in this like a sidebar. I'll tell you guys. You might also not saying anything there. He's going to lock down this transaction. Maybe that's what you should say. Make him a dog, not call. Like, let him go. Someone says, yeah, that'll work really well. Chavra mistake. The Chavra mistake. This is good, but your friend has a friend. And the friend of your friend has a friend. Which is another way of saying, don't rely on anyone's confidentiality. So the nice again, if Ruben says something sort of with confidence to the witnesses, they're going to say something, and what's going to happen? It's going to cause the whole transaction about partially to fall apart. Look, the Gemara says as follows. So how the cover is said, Ruda saw similar after. So what says now? Listen to this. In this case, so the case over here is. So let's go back. So what's that? So this is just a unique case over here. So remember, let's go back. The Mishnah said that in a case where Reuven is now signed on a shtar, right, is a witness to a document, where Shimon is selling parcel B to another party, and in parcel B, he's using parcel A, the contested parcel, as one of the borders. And Reuven signs on that document. Reuven gives up his right to further to any more claim parcel A. That's only true. That now if I gets a qualification. That's true if Shimon was selling it to another party. But if Shimon was selling it to Reuven himself, so Reuven doesn't object to the use of parcel A as a border, that's because Reuven doesn't want to call into jeopardy the whole transaction. Fine. So now go back to the original case. So let's go back to the Mishnah's original case. Right, so the Mishnah's original case, so Allah said now, so Reuven is engaged on the shtar where Shimon is selling parcel B using parcel A as a border. So what happens? Here are the shepherds. So after the transaction happens, now what happens? So Reuben claims, by the way, parcel A is mine. But what happens? Shepard, then he died. Reuben died. Right, so Reuben died. Right? Reuben died after raising the objection to the ownership of parcel A. Okay. What happens? The Okim Apotron. They'll say, so now again, so after Reuben passed away, right, either Reuben made provisions for this beforehand, or the Bezin appointed an Apotropos. Now there's an executor of Reuben's estate. Okay, so Asa Apotron made Abaye, the Apotropos came before Abaye. Amalei saw similar. So now what happens? The Apotropos is coming. And why is he coming? The Apotropos is saying, listen, before Reuben died, Reuben claimed that field A belonged to him. So the Apotropos says, I am coming to follow up on that claim. Okay, so Abai says, listen, there's no claim. Listen, Krishna. Amalei saw similar after, even as Kuso. We already learned this case. Reuben signed onto this document where Shimon used field A as a border identification for field B. the Mishnah says once you do that, you go ahead and you relinquish all of your rights. Nothing more to talk about. To which the apotropos says, you're right. But Amar Hava Amar son Yasmikayim Avakayim the Amar Alam Echarasisila. Very interesting. So I will say, so the apotropos says, Reuben is still alive, but Reuben would say is yes. I signed a document where Reuben used field A as a border for field B. But really the only thing I was agreeing to was that perhaps Shimon owns a narrow strip of field A. A narrow strip of field A. Maybe that's what he owned. That's what he owned. So the most other way, Shabbat Amrit. So truth is that's a good Torah. Rabbi Yochanan, Alam Kalam Akala Sisi Lecha Ne'aman. So we'll say it's actually very interesting. Very interesting. That the claim over here is that right? That if I go ahead, right? Rabbi Yochanan says, let's say I sold you a field, right? The field is mine, and the only thing I sold you in that field was a narrow strip. Such a claim could actually be believed. So the Gemara is supposed to see what's happening over here. So in other words, Reuben signed on this document that where Shimon was selling the field to another party, Shimon was selling field B. The field B was sold with a border identification of field A. Reuben signed on it. After Reuben signed on it, the transaction happened. Reuben said, by the way, field A is mine. It was stolen from me by Levi. After that, Reuben dies. Apotropos comes along and tries to settle up the affairs of the state. He comes to Abaye, and the Apotropos listens. Reuben claimed the stolen field was his. Abaye says, that's fine, field A was his. So he says, that's fine, but it's a Mishnah. Right? So Reuben signed on that document. He signed that document using field A as a burden to field B. He advocated all rights to the fields. To which the Apotropos says, no, perhaps if he was here, would claim all Shimon really owned in that field was just a narrow strip. That's what he was identifying as the border. To which Abaye says, that's what he's talking about. But ultimately, again, you still should have to go ahead. So in other words, now Abaye says the Apotropos, even if that's a good claim, so that's fine, but you still have to leave in Shimon's possession a narrow strip. So Avi Alei, Rivka B'Tiklei. So we'll say, here's the problem. On the narrow strip, there was a line of palm trees, which made that narrow border strip pretty valuable. So the Gemara says. So I'm gonna have a point the Amar Kazaki Balakaki. This is great. The Apotropos says if Reuben was alive, he could claim, while it's true that I sold that border strip back to Shimon, I then subsequently purchased it. Abaye says the truth is only Shaker Kabbalah, same word. But Rabbi Yochanan, so we'll say ultimately again, Reuben were to claim I sold it, but then I repurchased it. I will say the reason that is because this is Rashi says Pesha Asar wa Pesha Hitya. We'll say the king so bears us. Look at Rashi Naaman. Here's the case, just to get the case in its totality. Naaman, that Pesha Asar Pesha Hitya. Then the Achar Sheish Edim Shaisa Shalom. So I will say the king so here is where, remember, Shimon sold the field. Levi sold the field to Shimon. Reuben, and then again, it gets more complicated. But now what happens? So now you have Reuben, sorry. Now you have Shimon. Bring it all together. Here we go. Bring it all together. You have Levi sells the field to Shimon. Field A. Okay, fine. Now what happens? Shimon sells field B to another party. But in that transaction, he uses field A as a border identification. Reuben signs on that shtar, that bill of sale that Shimon makes for the party of field B. Afterwards, what happens? Shimon, so Reuben says, field A is mine. It was stolen from me by Levi and sold to you, Shimon. So remember again, strict halacha in the Mishnah is we don't believe Reuben. You sign on that document, we don't believe you. I will say, in this case, it's becoming a bit more complicated. In this case, what happens is, Reuben goes ahead and claims the field is stolen from him. Not only that, Reuben brings witnesses. He brings agents. That's filling in the blank for here. He brings witnesses. And I will say, after he goes in and brings witnesses, what happens? He dies. Okay. Now what happens? Apotropos comes to Abaye. Apotropos says, listen, I'm here to help on Reuben's claims. Abaye says, there is no claim. It's a Mishnah. Reuben said on the document. Apotropos says, but he has Eidos. Abaye still says, go on second. Essentially, the Eidos is negated in the face of rights. Apotropos says, no. What you understand is, he actually went ahead and sold back, right? Sold to Shimon a strip of land. Abaye says, okay, so now what you're telling me is, when Reuben signed the document, he wasn't yielding his rights to the rest of the field. What was he acknowledging? That Shimon owns a strip of land of field A that borders on field B, but that in no way is yielding his rights to the rest of field A. That's good. But Abaye says, okay, that's fine, so you can pursue your claim on the rest of field A, but what? But you have to go ahead and at least leave in Shimon's possession what? The strip of land. To which Apotropos says, but 1 second, there's more to the story. Reuben bought back the strip of land from Shimon. He brought it back. To which Abaye says, the truth is saying, look, why? He's going to say, this is a pasha, also a pasha with the why? Because the only way we knew about the sale was how? Right, in other words, right through you, we didn't know about the sale. Without the sale, all you would have is what? His aide was saying that the mice of the field was stolen from Reuben. So now Reuben, so to speak, is telling us that a sale happened at the strip. Now Reuben is further qualifying and telling us after the sale occurred, Reuben bought it back from Shimon. It's a pesha, also a pesha introduced, in which case Reuben / the Apotropos should be believed. It turns out that Reuben should really wasn't able to operate, assuming he could prove his claim that he should really be able to operate with the field in its entirety, including the strip of palm trees. Incredible. Abaye, what's the takeaway from this story? Abaye, I mind to mock the Apotropos, no kim ki at Gadol Africa dismiss the aspect. Because the entire takeaway is you gotta get an Apotropos like this. Okay? I say this is you gotta surround yourself with good people. Like this Apotropos Abaye